to this special edition of the Dorton and Doetkott Debate Podcast. I am Lucas Dorton. I'm joined by Nick Doetkott. Nick, how you doing today?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Good. That's good. Well, a special edition because, the Super Bowl is tomorrow. And I'm assuming, hopefully, with no technical difficulties, I'm actually able to get it out before the Super Bowl. So if you're hearing this before the Super Bowl, then congratulations, you heard it on time. So that's good.
50-50 odds, maybe.
50, you never know. But, you got to try. You got to try. But anyway, Super Bowl, though. Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco 49ers. Nick, a Super Bowl will be won in Miami. It just won't be the Miami Dolphins. That's okay.
It's like the 13th one in Miami. Like, come on.
Yeah, they have them there.
Nobody's played in a home Super Bowl. It keeps going to Miami.
Well, I mean, eventually, if it keeps going in Miami, one of these times we're bound to win it. I mean, it's going to happen one of these times.
You keep telling yourself that.
Hey, maybe if we get our boy Dwayne Haskins, that'll take us to the promised land.
Oh, gosh. Dwayne Haskins. All right, yeah. You can play the toilet bowl with him.
Oh, man. Well, anyways, we should probably get into it. A big game. I think for you, being a huge Patriots supporter, how weird is it to see a Super Bowl that does not have the New England Patriots in it?
I mean, how weird is it? I don't know, but it kind of sucks because, the Vikings never make it. So the Patriots are like my adopted second team. They made it 4 of the last 5 years, I think it was. Yeah, and 3 in a row. So now it's like, well, darn it. I don't even like either team that much, but I have to pick someone to root for. So, I mean, I'm picking the Chiefs, but I'm not as excited for it as I have been the last how many years.
Yeah, well, I'm excited because the Patriots aren't in there.
I mean, the way I was talking about New England, I mean, you'd think I'd be shocked they weren't in it. I mean, I'm not shocked, but I didn't think they'd lose in the first round. It's definitely weird having like almost an entire AFC playoffs without the Patriots being involved.
See, isn't it nice? See, being a Miami Dolphins fan, Nick, I tell you, it's perfect. You know why? Because I can go into every playoff, every Super Bowl, without having to be stressed if my team is going to win or not. I can just enjoy. It.
I feel like the Vikings, for instance, they just year after year they give you hope and just throw it away. Like if you're like a Lions fan or a Browns fan, like do you even have any hope? You're probably just like, 4 weeks into the season, it's over again. So the Super Bowl is probably like definitely the best football day of the year because they know they actually get to watch 2 good teams for once.
They can see, man, I wish my team was like that.
Like I'm just disappointed our team's not in it, and then they're like, well, we knew we weren't going to be in it, so let's just enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a great feeling. It's a very underrated feeling. It truly is. Oh, man. Well, anyways, you could probably get into it now. So we'll start with maybe some keys to winning the game. We'll start with the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, with the 49ers, the talk of the town for them is their defense. Their defense is phenomenal. Their front line is absolutely unbelievable. And they always say a good defense is going to start with that defensive line. If you're able to get to the quarterback, that helps out all the other phases of the defense, defensive backs, everything. Helps them out big time. So, in your opinion, what is the biggest key that San Francisco, or the biggest thing that San Francisco has to do in order to win the game?
I think they got to get to Mahomes. For instance, I'm looking at the OC register right now with a bunch of, and it's got a good comparison between the Niners and the Chiefs and their stats and whatnot. And I just seen here, Mahomes, the Chiefs are only sacked, or Mahomes is only sacked 17 times this year. So barely once a game. I guess he only played 14, but still, it's just over 1 sack a game. That ain't many. Garoppolo has been sacked almost double that time. So the Niners, who this year have been a very good team at getting to the quarterback, if you think they'll get at Mahomes like they've been getting to everybody else, that means Mahomes is going to be getting sacked much more than normal, and he's not used to it, so it could greatly affect him. So I think their key on defense should be getting to Mahomes because, I mean, if the Chiefs run the ball, you're in trouble, but I just don't I mean, I just don't think they're going to be able to run the ball. They can't run the ball on anybody. So the best way to stop Mahomes is to make it so he can't even throw it. You got to get to him. So if you're the Niners defense, I say just attack and try to get sacks. Defensively, that's definitely their key to the game. And offensively, just not turning it over, honestly. I mean, I think you're going to have to pass a little bit. They're not going to run the ball on the Chiefs like they did Green Bay. It's just not going to happen. So Garoppolo, who's been pretty good this year, but the one thing is he's thrown a lot of interceptions. So offensively, limit your turnovers. Defensively, get to Mahomes.
Yeah. And it seems pretty basic, because obviously, yeah, you want to limit the turnover and get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
But, I mean, really, a lot of times, that's what it comes down to, is as basic or simple as it is, the team that is going to be able to get to the quarterback the most amount of times probably is going to win. I mean, obviously, there's cases where that doesn't happen. It's rare. It mostly does happen a lot of the time. But I'm excited for this one. I'm a guy that I really appreciate a good defense. I like high-scoring games every once in a while, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, I think my heart really lies with good defenses. And this is a really good defense. This team is just built up front. And, it's kind of amazing when you really think about it. They go from 4 wins a year ago now for playing for the Super Bowl. I mean, that's just an unbelievable turnaround, and you got to give a lot of credit to the front office because the defensive side of things is something that you really want to do. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously was going to be the supposed heir of the New England Patriots after Tom Brady retired, traded him to the 49ers. Obviously, he does turn the ball over a lot, like you mentioned. For him to be successful, if you had to maybe give like a range of pass attempts in the game that he's going to have to do, if he can get to that point, then he'll be pretty solid. Because I agree with you. I don't think Mostert's going to be able to go off like he did against the Green Bay Packers.
No.
He might play well, but I don't think he's going to go off. But what do you think about that?
I mean, that's much how many attempts. It's how many. I mean, obviously, but how many completions he's going to make? I mean, he's got to be efficient. And honestly, it might just mean these little 4-yard passes every once in a while. Like that's all you really need. He just needs to keep the chains moving. Keep the ball out of Mahomes' hand. Use Kittle. We probably have the best 2 tight ends in football going against each other tomorrow, Kittle and Kelsey. I think both of them are going to be very, very important to the success of their team. I mean, San Fran's got some good weapons, but like Deebo Samuel, I couldn't think of it right away. Deebo Samuel's been really good as of late, but they don't have like a Tyreek Hill for a receiver or anything. So like Kansas City, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. I think they're going to be able to somewhat manage those D-backs. Their defense has been pretty good lately, but they have got to stop Kittle. And if you're Garoppolo, I think that's your boy. I mean, obviously you can't just stare him down from the get-go, but him and Kittle, I think, got to be cooking tomorrow, or I just don't know if they're going to have enough in the passing attack to beat them. And because I really think Garoppolo is going to have to win the game for them. I think he can. I just don't know if he will. Because, like I said, their bread and butter is the run game, but Mostert's not going to do what he did against Packers, against the Chiefs. So Garoppolo's going to have to be efficient. If he can get like 23 completions, that may be all he needs, but I don't, or 20, around 22, 23. That always seems to be a good number. Like, if you have like 35 completions, it's normally because you're passing it too much because you have to. Like if he can get around that 22, 23 range, I think that'll be good.
I really like watching Garoppolo play because in the Green Bay Packers game, he didn't have to throw the ball much. Mostert absolutely went off. He didn't even throw the ball in the third quarter.
Yeah, like an hour and a half of actual time without throwing it, and he didn't even throw in the third quarter.
Yeah. And that's the thing that people are talking about. They're like, oh, well, he's going to have to be too reliant on the run game that when it's going to come down to throw the ball, he's not going to be able to. Mm-hmm. I mean, this guy can throw the ball. There's a lot of games this season. I mean, this guy has zip. He has some mustard behind his passes. And, he throws a lot of picks, but that also means is that he's trying to make big plays for his team because, honestly, if I'm Jimmy Garoppolo and I know I've got Nick Bosa. I've got Richard Sherman. I've got, Armstead. I've got all those guys on the defensive side of things that if I throw a ball up and they pick it off, oh, wow, my defense is going to be able to stop them. And
Yeah.
more often than not, they do. Obviously, winning all those games, that's a huge thing. So I don't think if he has to throw the ball, I don't think he's going to be as bad off as people think he will be.
Yeah. I've been fairly critical of Jimmy G this year. Like, I was a big Jimmy G guy. I actually wanted the Vikings to get him when they were talking about him possibly being traded and whatnot. But I've been fairly critical of him this year, mainly because of the interception. However, there hasn't been many games where he's had to come up clutch at the end, because for the most part they've won fairly handily. But the games this year where he has had to play well down the stretch, he has done it. I know the Cardinals aren't a very good team, but both times against the Cardinals, they were somewhat close, and he pretty much got them the W in the fourth quarter of those games. He played very well, and he's been a very clutch quarterback so far this year. And yes, he has a lot of interceptions, but like you mentioned, it means he's trying to make plays. He's got a lot. He's thrown for almost 4,000 yards. He's up. I think he's top 5 in touchdowns. I mean, he's got some good numbers this year. So, like I said, I just think he has to limit his turnovers, make sure. I mean, one interception may be fine, but he's got to make sure to keep the ball on his side. Don't turn it over. But, I mean, the guy can get it done if you need him to. He definitely can.
And then I guess going to the Kansas City Chiefs side of things, kind of talking about that, trying to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hand. I mean, you really, and that's a huge thing. You hit it right on the head there. We have seen multiple times now this playoffs how fast Mahomes and the Chiefs offense can really get things going. I mean, you talk about how much they were down in the Houston game. Well, they made all that up in one quarter. Not throughout the whole game in one quarter, and then they ended up putting up 51. So, it's not a matter of, are they going to be able to, have success off of those turnovers, because they can, and they can do it quickly. I mean, it's kind of like a video game type thing when you're playing Madden, You drive the ball down the field in a minute and a half, and, it takes 6 plays to get to the end zone. That's kind of how it feels with the Kansas City Chiefs. Doesn't take them long to score.
Yeah, they're down 24-0 to the Texans.
Yeah.
If you would have told me they'd come back, I wouldn't have been like, I mean, I pretty much thought the game was over. I did. But if you would have told me when they were down 24-0, they're going to win this game, I can be like, all right, I can understand that. I can see that happening. But to make up for it in one quarter, like, you got to be kidding me. They were winning at halftime. It's just like, so if you're a San Fran, that tells you, like, if you get up, you got to keep your pedal on the metal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know for Shanahan that might be hard because he was up 28-3 against New England and didn't run it like he probably should have, and it cost him. But when you're facing Kansas City, I mean, they can score like that. So, I mean, if you get a lead on them, you can't just start playing conservative. And I'm not saying I think San Fran will. I'm just saying, you got to be aware this team can come back in a hurry. So don't give them extra chances. And just keep going, keep moving that ball on offense to San Fran, because Patrick Mahomes, man, he is a stud. I know, 3 weeks ago I said Wilson was the best quarterback in the league. I mean, I probably jumped the gun on that. I think he's probably second to Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes he's pretty darn good. From what he's done in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I think he definitely changed my mind.
Yeah. And I'm glad you do, because now we see eye to eye. Well, that's just one less topic now that we actually debate on. For whatever reason, we don't have a lot of topics that we disagree on. We agree on a lot of different things.
Good minds.
So it's nice to have that, but now it's it's one closer thing that we agree on. Just whatever. Yeah. I mean, I don't care. But no, I agree. I think it's just so electric with what he's able to do. And this is another thing too. When you think about Patrick Mahomes, a lot of people, they think about his arm, his strength, his wicked no-look passes, looking one way and throwing the other. But something that's kind of underrated with Mahomes is he can run a little bit. He is not a pocket guy. Now, granted, he doesn't have a lot of games where he really needs to run, but if he has to, he can do it. He really can.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because, like, for instance, in college, I'm not sure of his college stats. I didn't watch it much, but I'm pretty sure, he ran the ball a decent amount, like like any Big 12 quarterback seems to do. And I'm thinking, like, when I've seen him last year play, I'm like, I know this guy doesn't really need to run. He threw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, but like he can. And I'm like, at some points, I'm watching him. I'm like, you probably should run there, Mahomes. Well, lately in the playoffs, actually, he's been running a lot more than he previously was, whether it's by design or just he realizes that's what had to be done or what. But he's been running the ball quite a bit lately and very effectively. And yeah, I think people forget that because the dude he's got a missile of an arm. He's accurate. He threw for 5,000 yards last year. I think they forget, yeah, this guy can run. Yeah, he's no Lamar Jackson, but he's one of the better running quarterbacks in the league. And he hasn't even really showcased him much until lately. And it's been really effective for him. When he gets first downs with his legs, with that arm he has, he's almost unstoppable. Yeah. So if he can utilize that tomorrow, the Niners are in trouble.
So we've kind of mentioned a few things, but I guess if we're going to stay on topic here, what are some keys to the game for Kansas City if they want to win?
Honestly, just stopping Mostert. And the Niners run defense or run offense in general. Kansas City, if this were 5 weeks ago, I'd be a little worried for them. I did not trust their defense. And over the last couple of years, their defense has been decent, but it just hasn't really been enough to get them over the hump. But since like week 13 they've actually been really solid. And the reason I was worried about them earlier on in the season, because they couldn't stop the run. They just couldn't do it. But lately, they have. And it shocked me how well they did against Derrick Henry last week. Derrick Henry had 180-plus rush yards in 3 straight games. And he had, 60-something last week, I think it was? So for the most part, they shut down Derrick Henry. And I think the only way the Niners beat the Chiefs is if they run like they did against Green Bay. Not like they did against Green Bay, but close to that. I know I said Kansas. Sorry, I'm stumbling here. I know I said San Francisco's key to the game is to pass, or to be able to pass, and I'm saying that because I don't think they're going to be able to run the way they have been lately. But I do believe that's the only way they're going to win. So that's why Kansas City has got to stop that. And I have the confidence they will. I really do. And honestly, I think that's all you really got to worry about for Kansas City defensively is stopping that run. Because if you stop that, San Francisco has to play a way they haven't had to play most of the year. And that's a huge advantage for Kansas City.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're 100% right on that one. If they can stop Mostert, now obviously we talked earlier on the 49er side of things that if Garoppolo does have to throw the ball, he can throw the ball, and it's not a matter of that. I think the big key to the game is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line. They've had some issues here and there with getting things going. Their rush game has been pretty inconsistent this year, and Mahomes has been hit a lot. He has had a lot of pressures, kind of had to scramble and kind of make up plays on the go almost to what he's doing out there. So if they can, I don't think they're going to be able to stop the entire defensive line of the 49ers, but if they're able to maybe limit 2 of them, maybe even 3 of them, I think they'll be pretty set. I think if you can take the edge rushers out of the game, so you can take Nick Bosa out, that's going to be ginormous. And I think if you can do that, then I think Mahomes is going to be a lot more cool and calm and collected in the pocket. Not to say that he isn't already.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. Like I mentioned earlier, Kansas City has not allowed that many sacks this year. But, at times, sure, they can be vulnerable. And if San Fran can exploit that, that can really cause troubles for Mahomes. Mahomes, like we said, he's probably the best quarterback in football. But if you don't have time to throw, you can't throw. So, yeah, they just need to focus on stopping that D-line for the Niners. And I think if they do that, it's going to be really, really hard to stop Kansas City.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree.
So now I guess we can go on some X factors on either side. So X factors, kind of think of players that, they could be a big name if they wanted, if you want to go that route. Or they could be a way, could be a side to where, maybe you don't really know too much about them. So we'll start with the 49ers. Who would your X factor of the 49ers be?
I know I mentioned Kittle earlier. I don't know if he's really an X factor because he's darn near the best player. but I think Kittle has. If he doesn't have a good game, I think it's gonna be really hard for them to win. But honestly, and I guess I'm kind of answering for the Chiefs too. I think the kickers might be the X factor in this game. I think it's going to be a close game, and a lot of times, and we've seen in playoff history, in NFL playoff history, all the time, it's coming down to the kickers. Vinatieri for one especially, and I think these kickers, if one of them misses a kick, that may be what does their team in. So I think Robbie Gould and Harrison Butker are huge X factors. Harrison Butker made the most field goals in football this year, I believe.
Really?
And Gould, he's not what he once was, but he's still pretty darn good. I don't know why the Bears got rid of him. So I'm pretty confident in both of them. But if one of them missed, it could do their team in. So I think the kickers are very important tomorrow.
So for me, on the San Francisco 49ers side of things, my X factor is going to be Emmanuel Sanders. I think they're going to be really keyed in on George Kittle. I think Deebo Samuel is also going to be someone that they're going to be really keyed in on. Emmanuel Sanders, let's not forget, folks, he won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos. Okay, he has been around a while. He has had playoff success, and he's going to a place in the Super Bowl now where not very many people, except maybe Richard Sherman, have been on a Super Bowl team. So on the defensive side of things, Richard Sherman, can hold that thing down. Offensive side of things, I think they're going to be relying heavily on Emmanuel Sanders to kind of maybe bring them back down to earth and say, hey, this is a big game, but you guys we all have to be focused. We all have to be in control. And Emmanuel Sanders, when he was with the Denver Broncos, obviously being a Dolphins fan, you don't get a lot of Dolphins games on TV, so I watch a lot of the Broncos games. And Emmanuel Sanders, let me tell you, that guy can take a hit. He has extremely underrated hands, and he can take a hit. So Emmanuel Sanders, I think, is going to be a huge X factor in the game for the 49ers. If Kittle isn't getting things going, Deebo Samuel, I don't think they're going to be able to lock Kittle and Samuel down. I think it'll be one or the other. But whichever one is locked down, I think Emmanuel Sanders is going to be stepping up big time for that 49ers team.
And you mentioned his experience, his Super Bowl experience, whereas he's pretty much the only one on that team offensively who has it. I do think that's important, especially, I know this is professional, but especially in college, I think experience is huge. But in any level, honestly, experience does matter. And San Fran is a very young team. So Sanders being the, like you said, he could be the guy to kind of bring back dearth. I've been here, but he's been there before. They haven't. I think that is a huge, that could potentially be a big factor. I think that's a great X factor.
And then for me, on the Kansas City Chiefs side of things, Damian Williams, I think, is going to be huge. Now, we did mention that 49ers offensive line is going to be tough. And the run game has been very much inconsistent for Kansas City this year. But I think Damian Williams, now let's not forget, folks, he was a Miami Dolphin. And where is this Super Bowl? In Miami. Okay? So he is going to a place where he is familiar with. He had some success here. It's not like the guy was a slouch and cut from 75 different teams. He had some success with Miami.
The day of Mostert?
Well, maybe. But having said, no, I think going to play in a place where you're familiar with, that's big time. Now, obviously, these are professional athletes, and they've been in Miami for probably a couple weeks now, so it's not like they've never been there before. Yeah. But I think having a guy that not only played there, but had a little bit of success there at times, I think is going to be huge. So I think Damian Williams is going to be a guy that they're going to be relying on heavily, especially if they are getting to Mahomes and he isn't able to have those deep passes, those accurate passes. That's when Damian Williams is really going to have to put the team on his back and say, hey, I got this. And honestly, I think he can. So for me, Damian Williams is the X factor for the Chiefs.
So over under 80 total yards for Damian Williams. What are you taking?
Like receiving and rushing?
Yes.
I think over.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because do you think, like, I'm thinking with Damian Williams, I just don't trust the Chiefs running it. I mean, I think Damian Williams is good, but I could see the screen game potentially with Damian Williams being effective.
Yeah.
So are you kind of thinking the same, or you think they're going to be able to run effectively?
I think early on, I think they'll have to rely a lot more on those screen type passes to get Damian Williams going, maybe try and wear down that defensive line a little bit. But I think we'll see the further along the game goes, I think they will be trying to run the ball more, assuming that the defense does start to get tired. I mean, let's not forget Miami is not, it's not an easy place to play. Yeah, it's warm, but it's very much humid there too. I mean, I remember when a Pittsburgh Steelers player came into Miami and we were playing them a few years back. I can't remember which one it was. Oh, Timmons, I think it was. And he was actually thrown up before the games. Now, granted, that was like 11 o'clock when it's probably the heat of the day in Miami. But this is going to be around 6:30 or so Miami time. But nonetheless, they're going to get worn down. It's going to be tough. So I think that's going to happen. Williams, the rushing attempts will start to get further up as the game goes along. But early on, I think they're going to rely more on the passing game again.
And I'm interested to see. To be honest, I'm not even sure how many screen passes Kansas City threw this year, if they rely on it a lot. Like the Vikings, for instance, throw a bunch of them. But you mentioned the Niners D-line. They're very good. Well, a potential way to beat them, let them come to you. Just let them come to you and just dump it off on a screen pass to Williams. So I'm curious to see if they're going to try to utilize that. Because I do think if Damian Williams can get going, that Chiefs offense is very, very good. I think I'm still not sure this team's better offensively than they were last year, because I really do think they missed Kareem Hunt. But if Damian Williams plays like he has on a few games this year and is effective, then they're like that offensive last year, and they're almost impossible to stop. So.
And last year, too, when the Chiefs had Hunt, obviously Hunt was playing really well, but the plays and the times that Hunt wasn't in, mainly it was Damian Williams in there, and he was doing a really solid job, when he would come in on those third down, those second down maybe passing plays. So I think he's going to have a big game tomorrow. Hopefully it does, because then it can just prove that Miami Dolphin players are actually pretty good outside of Miami.
Right.
But that'll be exciting for sure. So I guess now, is there any other big topics or big things that you wanted to bring up within the Super Bowl itself before maybe we make some predictions?
We'll see. I like gambling a little bit, and I'm not gambling on this game, but I like over-under and, the spreads and that. I see the over-under is 54. I'm looking at my ESPN app. The over-under is 54. Are you taking over or under?
That's tough. I think I'm gonna take. Oh man, I think I'm gonna take the over. I think I'm gonna take the over on 54. What about you?
It seems like Super Bowls, like last year, for example, are at least usually a little bit under than what you expect. However, there is a Philly and New England Super Bowl and the New England Atlanta Super Bowl recently that's really high. But I just think the way Kansas City's clicking, they're gonna score. It's whether San Fran's gonna keep up with them. I do think 54 is a little low though for any game, for darn near any game Kansas City's in. So I'm gonna take the over as well.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. It's just so tough because if you would have told me last year's Super Bowl with the Rams, who had one of the most exciting offenses in the league, very solid defense as well too, and the New England Patriots with how hot they were, there was no way that I thought they were going to be under 50 points. And it was one of the bigger defensive battles in Super Bowl history I think that we've ever seen. But, oh well. I mean, I've been wrong before, and I'll probably be wrong again today.
We'll see.
We'll see. So if we're making final score predictions and Super Bowl MVP, who is it going to be? So you go first.
Well, first off, just to explain my pick. Now, in recent history, between a really good defense and a really good offense in the Super Bowl, I'd say San Fran's a very good defense. Kansas City's one of the best offenses. In recent history, the defense has won more. However, being that Kansas City is really clicking lately, and I'm totally on the Mahomes bandwagon now. I am picking Kansas City to win. I think he's going to be Mahomes and that offense is going to be able to overcome San Fran. So I'm picking Kansas City. I think, honestly, Kansas City's do or die with Patrick Mahomes. If they win, Mahomes is going to be MVP, I think. I don't think there's any – maybe like a Tyreek Hill or something, but receivers hardly ever get it. So I'm picking Mahomes to be the MVP. And final score, I'm going to say – see, I haven't totally made up my mind yet. I was going to say 31, but that's, 4 touchdowns and a field goal. I kind of feel like San Fran's going to hold them to at least 2 field goals, but I'm going 31-27 Kansas City.
Oh man, Mr. Duckett, 2 minds.
Like I knew I was taking Kansas City in a close game. I wasn't sure the score, but that's what we're going with. So that's a total of
2 minds think alike, Mr. Duckett. I am also going with the Kansas City Chiefs. I am not going with the same score. I am going with a similar score, with a final score of 32-26, Kansas City winning.
Folks, we don't play on this, man.
We don't.
I want to disagree with you more often, but man.
I do. Trust me. Yeah, a lot of people probably think, oh, yeah, they just go on the topics that they're going to agree on. Seriously, what I do, and Nick can attest to this, every single week I'll write sports topics down throughout the week, and then Thursday or Friday I'll send Nick a text of the topics I have to talk about, and that's all I say. And then we both prepare. We both prepare with what we want to talk about with that, and then we don't even really talk about those topics before we record. Really, the first time we talk about it is when we are recording. But it just happens to be that everything we talk about, we agree with. And I'm with you 100%. I want to disagree on a lot of topics, but we don't. I mean,
no.
What can I say? I picked a good partner to do this, huh?
Just that hockey fight, I guess. We got to talk about more hockey fights, I guess.
We got to talk about more hockey. That's for sure.
We actually had some disagreement there.
Yeah, we do. And some of the bigger topics in sports, I feel we have some disagreements. But a lot of the smaller stuff, we agree on a lot of that stuff.
So you have 32-26, right?
32-26, yep.
And I have 31-27. So we'll see if we're close or we'll see if we're way off. But I do think it's going to be over that 54. I do think so. My
Super Bowl MVP is, I got to give it to Damian Williams. I mean, I was just hyping him up big time. I think he's going to have a lot of big plays for this team. I think coming back to Miami where it all started, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder, and which I would too. I think Mahomes is going to be a close second, but maybe, there we go. We have a little bit of a different opinion on this. I think Damian Williams is going to go off. A lot of times, yes, mainly the quarterback wins, but every once in a while you see another player sneak in there. I think that's going to be Damian Williams.
Well, and see, like you just said, a lot of times the quarterback seems to win, whether they should or not. Like Joe Flacco, for instance, he had a heck of a Super Bowl. He had a heck of a playoffs in a season. But Jacoby Jones should have won MVP that year. He had a kickoff return touchdown, like 100-some receiving yards. But he's a receiver. So every receiving yard he gets, Joe Flacco gets passing. And then all the other pass yards he gets. So for the fact that quarterbacks almost unfairly get it too often, and just the fact that Mahomes is so good, I just don't see Kansas City. I just don't see anybody else getting it. I think Williams could, but I don't think he's going to put up the game necessary to get MVP. I just don't. So I guess we do have a little disagreement there. I do like the X Factor pick with Williams because I think, like I said, if they can get him going, kind of like Hunt, if they can get him playing kind of like Hunt was last year, they're almost impossible to beat. But I just don't think he's going to be able to put up the numbers to get MVP. But we'll see. We'll see who takes home the hardware.
We'll see.
I know we're both picking Kansas City, but for instance, let's just pretend we know San Fran wins. I mean, who do you think is going to get the MVP there?
I think.
Or
See, now,
I mean, who do you think is going to ball out for San Fran? I mean, we have them scoring 26 and 27, so someone's got to score.
Right. I don't think it'll be Garoppolo. See, I think on the Kansas City Chiefs side of things, I think Damian Williams, in my opinion, is going to win. I'm not going to be surprised at all if Mahomes is going to win, just because he's going to probably go off. But on the 49ers thing, I could really see if the 49ers were to win, Jimmy Garoppolo maybe not playing, maybe having a couple turnovers, but they're still able to do enough to win.
Yeah.
I think George Kittle is going to be huge. Obviously, last week they barely used him at all, and they still won handily too. Might I add? I think it's just going to be tough for the Chiefs if they do lose this game to be able to stop George Kittle, to be able to stop that run game, to be able to stop Deebo Samuel, Emmanuel Sanders. I think it's going to be too tough. So I think George Kittle is going to have a huge game, and he would be my MVP if the 49ers.
Yes. All right, we're in agreement there. I mean, not that it really matters, we're both in Kansas City, but yes, I think let's just say Niners win. I mean, it's going to be close. I could definitely see the Niners winning. I think Kittle would probably be the guy because at the end of the day, he's their best player offensively. It's hard to win without your best player doing good. I know last week he didn't do that great, but I mean, the way they ran it, I mean, that's going to happen. So I think, yes, assuming, let's just say Niners win, I think it's going to be because Kittle has a good game. And, you know, when you got Deebo to watch out for in that run game, Kittle is going to get some opportunities, I think. And I think he's going to have a good game. I don't think it's going to be enough to win, but I think Kittle's going to have a great game. Yes.
Right.
So we're in agreement on that one.
So we'll have to see what happens. Again, we'll come back and discuss this. Hopefully we're right with our predictions. If we're wrong, wouldn't it be the first time? Maybe I should disagree with you. You don't have very good luck with picks.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, you probably should not pick the same winner in an NFL game. Although it's a new year. It's 2020. Granted,
that's true.
And that didn't matter much either. The playoff picks up until now haven't been good either. So I don't know. It's a new month. Maybe I can pick games in February.
It's a new month. Kansas City Chiefs. All I'm saying is good luck. You have the curse of Nick going against you. So hopefully you can overcome that. We'll have to see. 49ers fans have got to be pretty happy though, knowing that you're not picking them.
They're probably. I don't know if any 49ers fans watch this, but they're probably pretty happy knowing I picked the Chiefs.
That's awesome. Alrighty, well, like I said, we'll check back again after this, but this was a special edition of the Dorton and Doetkott Debate Podcast. Nick, do you have any closing thoughts about the game?
Not the game, but, actually, hold on. I just want to ask one thing. Some people might not even care, and honestly, the Super Bowl commercials are kind of lame the last couple of years, but, I mean, what do you think is going to be the best commercial? Who's gonna do it? I mean, Doritos has had a lot of good ones in the past.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm thinking maybe Doritos gets back in on it as a good one this
Doritos?
Year. Or maybe, yeah.
I'm gonna go with Snickers. I think Snickers is gonna have a big ad.
I still think that Betty White one, that football one, and then the other older guy. I still think that's like the best Super Bowl commercial I've seen.
Yeah.
At one or two. It's in one or two. I'm hoping there's some good Super Bowl commercials next year. I mean, I'm not big on the commercials. I'm there to watch the football game. But the last few years, they've been kind of disappointing, and it's like, come on.
Well, anyways, that's all the stuff that we have to talk about regarding to the Super Bowl. Thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to find us on Twitter, you can find myself at Lucas_Dorton, capital L, capital D. If you want to find Nick on Twitter, it's at Doetkott or Doetkott, depending on however you want to, whatever's easier for you. We're going to keep saying that each time until people start to realize how to spell it. So,
the spelling is weird, man. Can't say anything else about it.
But anyways, everybody, thank you for listening. Please share, please retweet, tell everybody about this. And I am Lucas Dorton. As for Nick Doetkott, we are out.